and Young Adult Podcast.
Welcome to podcast 149.
149, baby.
Let's start this podcast off letting the YouTube audience understand our new clothes.
Yeah, we're rocking some new fits, man.
Well, you know, your fit right now is, well, it's a throwback, plus it means something too.
Yeah, this is, me and Preston and Kayla all got, not matching jerseys, but we all got, unified jerseys.
The Toon Squad.
The Toon Squad.
If y'all don't know what the Toon Squad is, well, what's the movie called?
Space Jam.
Space Jam. Yep.
Oh yeah,
The basketball team.
Original Space Jam. So I'm rocking the Michael Jordan.
Yes, actually. Maybe you can turn around for the camera and show them the...
All right, let's see. I'm not sure how this is going to
Literally,
work.
it says, it's got Jordan 23 on the back. Boom. Yeah, I hope everybody can see that. I think they could.
I think they could see it.
And then Kayla has the Toon Squad jersey. And
that's right. And so does Preston.
So, but Kayla's is Taz.
Kayla's is Taz.
And instead of a number on the back, it's an exclamation point.
Yep.
And then Preston has who?
I can't remember who Preston has.
Was it Bugs Bunny?
It might be Bugs.
I can't remember who he has either.
I think it's Bugs.
But I'm a little jealous. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of upset you guys didn't think of me.
Well, you're not going to be in Ignited on Wednesday.
Shut your mouth.
So this podcast, this is going to drop obviously on Thursday morning.
Yeah. So your people are going to see the Toon Squad in real life. And
when this drops yesterday. Because we're having a big kind of basketball themed night at Ignited.
Yeah, so you're gonna have a great night
tomorrow. And I don't know whose idea it was. I think it was Preston's idea.
I love it. It's such a good idea.
It's great. So we're all three of us staff are gonna be repping the Toon Squad, which is gonna be super fun.
And I'm repping Cornerstone's most recent piece of apparel that we created for Easter here at Cornerstone Church.
That's right, new merch drop.
Got the new merch drop. You can see what my shirt looks like here, and then the back's got cool too.
Oh yeah. So I got a question.
Yeah.
Did you purposefully make that front logo reminds me of the logo of like a local brewery?
Oh no, not at all.
No?
No.
Okay.
This is the Olympic Games.
Little
it's called
emblem?
a laurel.
Yeah.
Is what actually that is. It's called a laurel.
Yep.
So, and then the cross equals love inside of it. But no. Why, you think it kind of looks like a...
Yeah, it looks like something from a local brewery, I think.
What is that leaf that they use?
The hops.
Hops.
Yeah, I think yeah.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Didn't even.
It looks sweet.
You like it?
Yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, Born Again League on the back.
Oh yeah,
it's cool.
The back looks really sick.
It's cool. Actually, I just thought of something.
What's that?
So it says Born Again League on the back, and then underneath it says there's room for you on the team.
Yeah.
And you're wearing
team apparel.
Team apparel.
Oh yeah. Look at that.
Look at that. Wow.
Dude, we did that. Not even planned.
I think that's pretty cool. Nice.
The only difference is that anybody can join the Born Again League, and not everybody is on the Toon Squad.
That's why I want to be on the Toon Squad. It's because I'm not allowed on the Toon Squad. So I really want to be on the Toon Squad.
Yeah. Well, you could have got a Toon Squad jersey.
How?
You just order them from Amazon.
Yeah. I know. So, okay. There is this person I follow on social media.
Okay.
I've told you about this guy before.
All right.
And he played golf last year. He played golf every single day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're every single day until he got 18 pars, right?
Yes. At the furthest he got was 12 holes in a row of par or better.
Yeah.
And that was the furthest he got last year. Most of the time, almost no pars at all. Like first hole, he'd bogey it.
Yeah.
And so he played for an entire year, every single day.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And the year came to an end. He didn't reach his goal. And they decided they were going to have, he needs to take a little break. So they took like a 3-week break. And then they picked it back up. And he made some changes. He is doing it Monday through Friday.
Okay.
And then taking the weekend off. And it's interesting, Pastor Aaron, because when I started watching him, I can't even understand. I don't know why the video even popped up on my Instagram.
Oh, yeah. That algorithm got you, though.
It got me hard. It's one of my favorite social media things to watch. I look forward to his post.
Every day.
Every day, yeah. I look forward to it. And when I started watching, I think he was around day 60 or 80.
Okay.
So it was early on.
Yeah, so you've been long-time follower.
Yeah, long-time follower, for sure. And then as he played, they would update his handicap. So in golf, it's kind of interesting, Pastor Aaron, but the higher your handicap, the worse golfer you are.
Okay.
So essentially, if you were like, I don't really know how a handicap works, but so help me out here if you're watching or anywhere you can comment on this. Let us know exactly how a golf handicap works. So I think it works like this. Like if you were a 6 handicap in golf, at the end of 18 holes, they would take off 6 strokes.
Okay.
And then they would compare that score to a not a 0 handicap golfer.
Right. Gotcha. Okay.
So it like levels the playing field.
All right.
Now, I think when he started, he was like an 18 or 16 handicapper. Now he's down to like 8.
Okay.
And he's getting better. And it's been fun to watch. As a matter of fact, today, before we hopped on the podcast, his post popped up.
Yeah.
And he got 6 in a row.
Ooh, nice.
And I'm waiting for the third. Like he posts, he can't fit it all into one video.
Yeah, right.
So he'll do three holes in one video, 3 holes, 3 holes, 3 holes. So I saw the first part 1, part 2, and then I gotta go. I'm like, I gotta go into the podcast room and record this podcast. So I'm looking forward to seeing part 3.
Part number 3.
See how far he gets today. But he's got 6 in a row. But it's interesting because I've watched him grow.
Yeah.
I can see growth.
You can see the progression in his golf ability.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I've watched anybody else in my entire life kind of grow like that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
With just the consistent everyday. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's strange.
Okay.
Like, it's really strange. Like, you've grown.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's hard to measure your growth.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a very measurable piece of growth.
And you can see it with your eyes.
Yeah.
When he hits the golf ball, it goes straighter. And
Yeah.
he's more consistent.
Right.
And he's a much better putter, too. So you can see it. It's just like he's putting the ball, and it's usually within a foot of the hole.
That's big improvement.
I know. But like before, it was like, 6 feet past the hole, and you're like, oh, he's never going to make that, And it's really strange, Pastor Aaron. I was thinking about this right before I hopped on the podcast, and I just wanted to chat about this before we get into our main topic, because it feels like a spiritual kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where God has asked us to grow.
Yeah,
To get
right.
better. But the frustrating part, always, how do you know if you've really grown?
Yeah,
Like
how do you measure that
personally.
growth?
Like you
Yeah.
can measure growth in your ministry by number of people that show up,
Yeah.
number of salvations you've had that year,
Right.
how many people you've had in small groups, discipled, so on and so forth. There's some measurables.
Yeah.
But personal growth as like a pastor or a father, a husband.
Yeah.
How do you figure out if you've grown? I know you've grown, Pastor Aaron, as a preacher over the last few years.
Yeah.
But it's hard to define.
Yeah. It really is hard to define. This is funny that you brought this up because I was literally thinking about this morning, about how I want to continue growing different skills that I have and things that I do, especially on staff here around the church. And then I was literally thinking, I was like, I wonder how to gauge some of the growth. One of them was preaching. I was like, how do I gauge my communication skills growth? That's like a hard measuring. There's not really a standard measuring line to gauge that, right?
It's immeasurable. Like, how do you measure the health of your ministry?
I don't know.
I mean, you can kind of tell when things are healthier.
So there's some
signs.
culture things.
There's signs of health.
Yeah.
There is teenagers laughing and talking and hanging out and they're worshiping. You can physically see them worshiping. You can tell maybe more people are showing up to prayer meetings, or you can just tell when people get healthier.
Yeah, right.
They carry themselves differently. They talk differently. They act differently. But like, you can't measure. It's just frustrating because you can't measure it. But I can watch this golfer get better.
Right.
And I can definitively say he's better.
He's a better golfer.
But I have a hard time definitively deciding for myself.
Yeah.
Am I a better preacher this year than last year?
Yeah. Right.
And I will say this though, Pastor, and we can finish this conversation with this thought, and I'd like to get your opinion on it too. Have you ever watched yourself preach? Mm-hmm. Oh
yeah, it's rough.
Heard yourself preach?
Uh-huh.
You're like, why am I saying it? Or why am I doing that like terrible filler?
Oh, yeah.
Why can't I put together a smooth sentence when I speak?
Yeah.
How do people listen to this? This is terrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And so you watch yourself or you listen to yourself preach and you're like, and then maybe a year later, you're like, I'm going to watch again.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I actually can see some signs of improvement.
Yeah.
I'm more listenable.
Yeah.
I'm more watchable now.
I actually have saved on my iPad a video from a message that I preached when I was in the IMA when I was like 19.
Who gave you that? Did Pastor Evan give you that? Or
I think Pastor Evan had told me, hey, I want you to like record this video.
Okay. That's cool.
And so I have it. It's so bad.
Oh gosh.
It's so like I've watched it even it was just like 2 years ago. I think I watched it and I was like, this is terrible.
How many years ago was it?
It would have been 8 years ago because I think I was 19. I'm 27. So yeah.
All right.
There's some, I don't know, it's difficult to measure. I can't say I've gotten.
No, but you can
tell.
I have found that the only way to figure out if I'm a better communicator is to compare and contrast, like by watching or listening.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So when you were 18 and you were getting 19 in that video, and you were preaching, your handicap was probably 18, right?
Absolutely.
And then maybe now you're like a 0. Praise the Lord.
I don't know about
You're
that,
awesome.
but doing better for sure.
No,
doing better.
I'm going to give you a 0 if you give me a 0.
Yeah, you absolutely got a 0.
Dude, you're nice for saying that, dude.
I feel like this is the other day we were complaining about like the Grammys and how the industry just makes up awards to give to itself.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Like, yes, best film based on what?
The film industry. Is it what the most viewed?
No, it has nothing to do with money made or views or tickets sold.
Just purely based on what they think.
Your art is the best art out of all the art.
That's good. All right, we need to get into our topic, or we're never going to get there.
Yeah, you brought up a fantastic topic today.
Yeah, you know what? We're like 15 or 12 minutes into this video.
We can get this done.
And I just realized we never introduced ourselves.
Oh my gosh.
It's even written on the board now.
Maybe I can edit it and just drop it in the beginning, but I won't.
I am.
Introduce yourself.
I am Pastor Aaron. I'm the youth pastor here at Cornerstone. This is obviously the Cornerstone Youth and Young Adults podcast. So I'm the youth pastor here, and I love my job. It's awesome.
It is the Cornerstone Youth and Young Adults podcast.
That's right.
I am the Young Adults pastor here at Cornerstone Church. It's great to be with you today, everybody.
All right, so I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and this guy, where they were kind of doing a Bible study, they were going through John chapter 4, and he, in like 3 minutes, kind of did this little thing about John chapter 4 that I've never heard anybody really talk about before. And it made me pause, and I was like, whoa, we should talk about that, because this guy just barely touched on it. And I thought, there's a lot there. We need to talk about this on the podcast.
Yeah, and you brought this up to me, and I thought this was really special too. I had never heard this before.
Yeah. So in John chapter 4, if you're not familiar with the story, it's Jesus and the woman at the well. Jesus is going through Samaria, and he stops at a well, Jacob's well, actually, pretty famous well. It's actually still in Israel. I've never been there.
He's going from Judea to Galilee? Is that what he's doing?
I think he's going from Galilee to Jerusalem.
Okay. No. He's going from Judea to Galilee.
Oh, okay.
Was that right?
Yeah, I think you were right.
Nice. I just read it, verse 3.
Nice. Yeah. I read the whole chapter earlier. I guess I should have remembered.
So he's traveling a long way, if you don't know. I don't know how many miles it is. Man, I should have done more research. But he got tired.
He's human.
And so he stops to get a drink of water.
That's right.
At Jacob's well.
At Jacob's well, his disciples go in to buy some food, I never have said this before, but this always makes me laugh. Because there's a few times in the Bible where Jesus sends disciples to go get food. And I always wondered, does he send give him an order? Or does he know hey, this disciple, maybe like Peter and John are better cooks. So you guys should be the ones getting, there's no biblical or theological thing to that. I just think it's funny and a random thought I have in my head when Jesus sends people to get food. But he sends them to go get food, and this woman comes out at the well. The Bible says it's about the 6th hour, so it's about noon.
Okay.
And Jesus engages with this woman.
Yeah.
And the whole conversation of it, it's really interesting. You should go read John chapter 4. But the woman, depending on your translation, addresses Jesus with 4 to 5 different titles.
Yes.
And I think these titles are really important because I love that John puts this story in there because it's the only gospel that has this story. And I think it really is a depiction of how so many people in the world will give Jesus one of these titles.
Yeah.
And the woman, she starts out with one and eventually throughout the entire chapter ends up at the right one, but it definitely doesn't start out that way.
No, it doesn't. As a matter of fact, the first title that she gives him is never argued. Other titles about Jesus are argued.
That's true, yeah.
But the first title, nobody argues.
Nobody argues this.
She actually says in verse 9, you are a Jew.
Yeah.
There's your title.
There's your title.
Then it continues on, and I'm a Samaritan woman. Why are you asking me for a drink? So she could tell that he was Jewish.
He's a Jew.
And that's not argued.
No, nobody argues that there was a Jewish man named Jesus.
Yes, yeah. There's no argument there. But then it feels as if the story goes on, Pastor Aaron, that the titles build.
Yeah.
And as they build, it also controversy builds.
Yeah, absolutely.
The arguments grow.
Yeah.
Not with us.
No, but I like the
world argues.
Yeah. I love the first one because it's he was a Jewish man. That one was not that's a great baseline. But then the next one, she says, sir.
Yes.
And I did a little bit of research on that word sir, and because I heard that it was translated other ways in other places in the Bible. And it's like sir some places, it's Lord, but not like Yahweh Lord, like you have authority, like kind of teacher or master in a couple places.
Yeah, master would be a better translation, and then it would be capital L, but then lowercase O-R-D.
Right. So she's giving him some authority.
Yeah. She is giving him respect.
Yeah, that's a perfect word. She's giving him some respect.
She is actually, as you can tell, as she's talking to him, she's respecting him and falling in love.
Yeah.
In the kind of way that we love Jesus.
That's right.
And she does elevate to Sir, Master, Lord.
Yeah, which I would say that even at this second title, there can be some debate.
Absolutely.
Was Jesus a good teacher? I think that most people would say that, well, yeah, Jesus was a good teacher. Mm-hmm. But some people, I'm sure, would disagree with that.
Yeah. You've got to be intellectually honest with yourself when you debate Jesus.
Yeah.
So what do I mean by that? If you don't believe Jesus is the Son of God, and you don't believe that he lived the perfect life and died and rose again, okay, if you don't believe those things, which is what the Christian faith is mainly based on,
Yeah.
okay, then you'll have a hard time saying he was a good teacher.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
if you look
then he's just a liar.
yeah, I see. You have to.
Got to be intellectually honest.
Yeah, you can't pick and choose which of Jesus' teachings were good and which ones were bad.
If he has a bad teaching in there, if you think he's got a terrible teaching in there, then that's it. He's a terrible teacher.
Then he can't be a good teacher.
Can't.
And so because of that, even this second title, Sir, Master, Lord,
Yeah.
there's debate about it.
There is debate about it. And I find it interesting, Pastor Aaron, because people will say, I don't believe Jesus is the Son of God. I don't believe Jesus lived the perfect life. I don't believe Jesus is alive today. All right.
Yeah.
I don't believe the things that he said he was going to do, and that all those things. I don't believe those things that he said. But I do believe he was a good man.
Yeah.
A good teacher who taught some good things, and a prophet.
Yeah.
He's a prophet who you believe didn't prophesy correctly.
That doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And I've even heard people, and it's usually people who have just enough knowledge of the Bible to misinterpret it.
To get in trouble.
Yeah, to get themselves in trouble.
They are.
And this, Jesus never really actually claimed to be the Son of God.
Oh, I love that one.
Or never really claimed that he would rise from the dead, which is insane.
Well, you know what's interesting? You just said that Jesus never claimed to be,
the Son of God.
the Son of God, or never claimed to be God.
Never claimed to be God, yeah.
I think in John chapter 4 he did.
Oh, he absolutely does.
Is it verse?
It's I think it's in
No, it's verse 26.
where he says to the woman, "I am the Messiah." which okay, so we're gonna get to this one in a second. I'm just gonna throw this nugget in there right now.
Yeah.
When he says, "I am the Messiah," or "I am He,"
I am.
it's actually just "I am."
Yeah.
Like we the translators added that the Messiah, I am He, because it doesn't make sense if you don't add that in the English. But in the original, it's just I am, which is throwback to Old Testament when Yahweh, Jesus or God speaking to Moses said, "I am."
Tell the people, who am I going to tell the people who you are? Tell them
I am. Yeah, and so Jesus is like, I am.
Saying the same thing.
Saying the same thing. He's God. Yeah, anyway, that's a side note, but it's pretty cool.
Let's keep building on this.
All right. Number 3, the third thing that this woman calls Jesus. She says in verse 19 that I can see that you're a prophet.
Yeah.
She says, "Sir, I can see you're a prophet." Which she says that, I mean, kind of rightly so, right after Jesus says, "Okay, go get your husband." And she says, "Well, I have no husband." And he says, "You're right to say you have no husband. You've had 5, and the man you're living with isn't your husband now." And she's like, "I didn't tell this guy that. He's a prophet."
Yeah.
And then it's funny because she doesn't ever address that. She just kind of deflects it. And she's like, "So I can see you're a prophet. Which mountain should we worship on?" Which is not what we're talking about, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
But she calls him prophet, and that, again, I think that's a correct. I mean, Jesus was a prophet, but he was more than that. She's not there yet.
She's not there yet.
But she's starting to kind of put the pieces together a little bit here.
This is an interesting conversation where she is correct. She's correctly identifying Jesus at the beginning.
Yeah.
But it's the lowest the level possible.
Yeah.
But then she's getting more revelation as she goes.
Yeah.
And I believe that this is a wonderful track that she's on.
Yeah.
That a lot of people take.
Yeah.
With Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
It's like this intellectual journey. She's having an intellectual journey with this man named Jesus.
That's right.
And many people come to saving knowledge of Jesus Christ pretty much the same way.
Yeah. And I love that because I think sometimes maybe it's just as preachers or communicators, people who are sharing the gospel a lot, is that I sometimes just want it to be like, don't know anything about Jesus, saved.
Ah.
But most of the time, that's not the process.
You know, the Bible even says that we work out our salvation.
Yeah, come on.
It can take time to get saved.
And I think that's what we're seeing kind of on a fast track. This woman at the well go through.
She is on a fast track. You're right.
Yeah.
Let's skip down to let's go to the next one.
All right, let's do it.
Which is found in verse 25. Now, you had said that some translations, there's 4 titles.
Yeah.
And I found in the NLT, which was the first translation I read, there was 5.
Right.
And so do yours.
Okay.
Which is in the NIV translation.
Yeah.
And then I'll do that same verse in
Yeah.
NLT translation.
Yeah. Well, she begins to call him Messiah.
Yeah.
And I love in verse 29 when she's going back to the village and she's telling everybody, hey, come meet the man who told me everything I ever did.
Could he be?
Could he be the Messiah?
That's what she says, yeah.
And I love that because she's got some hope.
Yeah.
Because she talked about the Messiah, but before she said, I know that one day the Messiah will come and he'll teach us all these things. And now she's to the point where she's like, I think this is the guy.
Yeah.
I think he's the Messiah.
Yes.
Which is so cool that she's right there.
Yeah. So in the NLT in verse 25, it says, I know the Messiah is coming, which, how did people get saved before Jesus came? They got saved, Paul says, by looking forward to the coming Messiah.
To the Messiah. Yeah,
They
come on.
had faith that he would come.
Yeah.
That's how they got saved before Jesus. So she actually has.
She's got faith.
She has faith. Yeah.
Yeah.
Faith to be saved. And she says, I know the Messiah is coming. But then she adds in the NLT translation, the one who is called Christ.
I like that.
Christ.
I actually like that verse better in the NLT.
Okay.
Because that's really important. The one who's called Christ.
When you presented this topic to me, Pastor Aaron, it made me think of this man's wild testimony.
Okay.
And I love this guy's testimony, and some people don't believe it, though.
Okay.
But it's the testimony, a story of Brian Melvin, the atheist who died of food poisoning.
Yeah. He was the guy in Texas, right?
Colorado. No. He died in Arizona.
Arizona. Okay, I knew it was somewhere down there. Yeah.
He was working a construction job. He's a young man in his 20s. And it was a really hot day in Arizona.
Yeah.
And he was super thirsty and went to his friend's truck. And there was a big igloo thermos in the back of his truck full of water.
Yep.
And he kind of picked it up, pushed the nozzle, and was drinking the water. And then as he was drinking, his buddy yelled, from up at the construction site, hey, don't drink that. That's water from a river in Mexico. Inside his igloo. Like thermos, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And so he had already drinking a lot. And he opened the lid up, those big lids, and unscrewed it. And he says, it was full of like algae and river algae and things like that.
That's nasty.
And he was like, why? Why do you have this in the back of your truck? He's like, I was driving home over the weekend from Mexico and my car kept overheating. I stopped on the side of the road and I went down to the river and filled up this igloo, and I kept filling up my radiator in my truck so I could make it home.
Wow.
And he drank all that water.
Crazy.
And he drank all that water, and he says that he was a rabid atheist and hated Christians, made fun of them all the time, debated them all the time, just laughed at the idea of God. I mean, really a terrible guy. And he was also a stubborn man, he said.
Okay.
And he got sick.
Yeah.
Terribly sick from that water and refused to go to the hospital. And instead, he said, I am going to sit in my home over the weekend and knock out this poisoning with Jack Daniels. I'm going to sip on Jack Daniels.
All right.
And he died alone in his room.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And he floated, when he died, he floated up through his ceiling, he says. And as an atheist, This is where it all began to fall apart for him.
Yeah.
Because he thought that you would just be nothing.
Right.
Annihilation, just gone. And he was alive, like more alive than he'd ever been in his entire life. As a matter of fact, he said he noticed right away when he died. He died without his glasses on. He's got terrible eyesight. And he died without his glasses on, laying in bed.
Yeah.
And he could see perfect.
Man, that's crazy.
He's more alive than he ever been in his entire life. And felt better than he ever did ever.
Yeah.
So he floats up through his ceiling, goes through his ceiling, and right through space, and at the speed of light, right toward a man standing on a very big rock.
Okay.
Doesn't that sound like Jesus?
Yeah, sure does.
The rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, a rock. That won't move. Yeah.
Come on.
And he says his face was really very hidden, and his identity was hidden.
Okay.
But he knew it was a man of absolute authority. And he says there was a sense of fairness, justice, and truth that could not be denied. He said those things to himself as he stared at this man. And he said, I didn't even know it was Jesus. But those were that was emanating from him.
Yeah.
Isn't that strange?
That is crazy.
So anyway, this man standing on the rock, which was Jesus and he didn't know it, essentially told him, you cannot come into heaven because you haven't lived the right life.
Yeah.
You are going to go to a land unknown, but it's best left unseen. That's what he told him.
Wow.
You're going to go to land unknown. And he goes, when you're there, your fate is still to be decided. So he said this to the man, to Brian before he left. He said, say my name and title if you feel scared. And it hit him, his name and title. It was like telepathy kind of at him. Jesus Christ. Say my name and title when you feel scared. And he said that this man, he couldn't see very well,
Yeah.
opened up his robe and took out a large ring of keys. Who holds the keys of death and hell?
Come on. It's Jesus.
He didn't know scripture. He didn't know any of this.
Yeah.
He says he took out some keys and he wondered what that was about. So he's dead, right?
Yeah.
And so you're going to go to a land unknown, best left unseen. If you feel scared, use my name and title. And he thought to himself, what's your name and title? And it was told to him, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And he walked over to this gate, a locked gate. And the guy, Jesus Christ, unlocked it and the door opened. And Brian was sucked into the gate. And he said everything changed from that point on. And he fell a very long ways and fell into hell. And sure enough, very scared, very overwhelmed, terrified. Yeah. And he started saying his name, Jesus Christ. That's his title.
Yeah.
And he's alive. Brian Melvin lived.
Yeah.
How is that possible? Well, people die and come back all the time. Well,
yeah.
Through modern medicine, chest compressions, CPR.
Yep.
That's what happened to him. His neighbor found him in the house dead and brought him back to life and took him to the hospital. But I thought of that, Pastor Aaron, when you said the titles of Jesus. Mm-hmm. And Jesus Christ, that's who he is. That's the name of power. That's the name of love. That's the name and title that saves us. He says, if I did not have the name and title, I would have never come back, he said.
Man.
It saved me. He says, when I would say Jesus Christ to a demon, it would back up but get very angry at me because it had such authority and power. He says the name made the demons back up.
Come on.
And there is so much power in the name and title.
Yeah.
And so she used his titles.
She used his titles, right? Because if he's just Jesus the Jew, that's not enough.
That's not enough.
But Jesus the Christ, Jesus the Messiah, that's who he is.
The Lamb of God.
The Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world, right? That is who Jesus is. And that is the title that I want to make sure that, man, this is the title that Jesus has in my life.
Yeah. And you don't have to believe my story or his story that I just shared with you. I'm not asking you to. But look in the scriptures, which are for sure the truth. and discover for yourself the man, the legend, Jesus Christ.
Come on.
The title is so important.
So important.
Oh, it's been great to be with you today, Paudience.
This was a fun one. I liked it.
How'd you describe this one? We went a little long. I'm sorry about that, Paudience, but I think it was good stuff.
It was good stuff.
All right, how'd you describe this podcast?
This was like a great breakfast. You know, eggs, sausage, hash browns. Great way to start the day.
Bacon.
A little bacon in there. You can do a little
toast and jam.
Cholula hot sauce on those eggs if you want. I don't know, whatever you're into.
I agree with you. You know what? Inarguable.
No argument.
Remember,
Nothing.
0 handicap.
0 handicap. Come on.
Champion. All right, everybody. See you in the next one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Youth and Young Adult Podcast. Youth and Young Adult Podcast. Youth and Young Adult Podcast.